The stars were silent, but their love was loud. The ship moved slowly through the dark, like a thought drifting through a sleeping mind. It was called Horizon, a human exploration vessel built to travel where no signals lived. Its hull reflected distant stars, cold and steady, stars that had never spoken back. Captain Elias Rowan stood on the bridge, hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the wide glass view ahead. He had seen many skies in his life, but this one felt different. This part of space was too quiet, not peaceful, empty. Humanity had searched the stars for more than a century. They had found rocks, storms, broken worlds, and strange physics. But they had not found anyone else. No cities, no voices, no ruins. Just silence, stretched across light years like an unanswered question. That silence had a name now. The Quiet Expanse. Horizon was the first ship sent deep into it. Behind Elias, the bridge crew worked in soft voices. Screens glowed with slow-moving data. No alarms, no warnings. That made it worse. Miravail sat near the sensor station, her fingers resting but not moving. She was trained to study alien language, but there was nothing to study. That bothered her more than danger ever had. Jonah Pike leaned under a panel near the floor, tools spread around him. He liked broken things. Broken things made sense. This place did not. Elias broke the quiet. Report. A navigation officer answered. Course steady. No signal noise. No background radiation spikes. It's clean, sir. Clean was not a good word in space. Mira looked up. Too clean. Elias turned slightly. Explain. She hesitated, choosing simple words. Even empty space has a kind of sound. Radiation. Old echoes. This area feels wiped, like someone cleared a room and closed the door. Jonah laughed once, then stopped when no one joined him. Maybe the universe got tired of talking. Elias did not smile. He had thought the same thing, but jokes had weight out here. Hours passed. The stars did not change. The ship kept moving. Then the sensors blinked. Mira leaned forward. That's new. Elias stepped closer. What is it? I don't know, she said. It's not matter. Not energy. It's movement without shape. The screen showed a small distortion ahead. Space bent inward slightly, then relaxed. Like breathing, Jonah stood up slowly. That's not right. The distortion pulsed again. Elias felt it before the alarm sounded, a pressure behind his eyes, a low pull in his chest, like gravity remembering him. Distance? He asked. Closing, the navigator said. But we're not moving toward it. The thing was coming to them. Elias made a choice, reduced speed. No weapons. No signals. The crew looked at him. If this is the first voice we've heard, he said, we don't shout. The ship slowed. The stars stretched slightly as systems adjusted. The distortion grew clearer, not larger, but sharper. Space around it bent as if unsure how to exist. Mira whispered, It's reacting. To what? Jonah asked. To us, she said. The lights flickered once. Then the long-range communication panel went dark. Captain, the comms officer said, voice tight, we just lost contact with human space. Elias felt the bridge shrink. Retry. Already did. Nothing goes out. Nothing comes in. Silence pressed in, heavier now. Jonah wiped his hands on his pants. That thing didn't just follow us. It closed the door. The distortion pulsed again, closer. Close enough that the stars behind it looked wrong, stretched thin like painted glass. Mira's breath caught. It's matching our power cycles, our heat, our timing. Elias looked at the thing and felt a strange thought rise uninvited. It knows we are here. A low sound moved through the ship, not a noise, a feeling, like standing near something vast and waking. Crew members froze. One dropped a datapad. No one bent to pick it up. Jonah spoke softly. Tell me everyone else feels that. No one answered, but no one denied it. Elias forced his voice steady. Status. Internal systems stable, the navigator said, but external readings make no sense. Space density is shifting. The distortion expanded, surrounding the front of the ship without touching it. Light curved. Time seemed to hesitate. Mira's eyes filled with tears, and she did not know why. Images flashed in her mind. A blue sky. A voice calling her name. A memory she had not touched in years. She gasped. Captain, it's not scanning us. What is it doing? It's listening. Jonah shook his head. That's impossible. So is all of this, she replied. Elias stepped closer to the glass. His reflection looked older in the bent light. Can it hear us? he asked. Mira swallowed. I think it already does. The distortion pulsed again, stronger. The ship trembled, but gently, like a hand resting on it. A new signal appeared on the screen. Not sound, not image. A pattern. Slow and steady. Heartbeat-like. The crew watched in silence. Then the pattern changed. It matched the ship's internal rhythm. Life support. Crew movement. Human presence. Jonah whispered. It's sinking. Elias felt something crack inside him. Fear, yes, but also something else. A sense of being seen after a very long time. Prepare a probe, he said. Slow launch. No one questioned him. The probe drifted forward, small and bright against the dark. As it touched the edge of the distortion, it vanished, not destroyed, folded. Data poured back for half a second, then stopped. Mira stared at the readings. It didn't reject it. What did it do? Elias asked. She shook her head slowly. It accepted it. The distortion tightened. The stars dimmed around it. Then everything went still. No movement, no sound, no readings. The ship floated inside a quiet deeper than space itself. Elias realized then that the silence humanity feared was not empty. It was waiting. And now, something ancient had finally noticed the noise humans made just by being alive. The stars did not speak, but something was listening. And it was very close. The horizon drifted inside the quiet of the expanse, the distortion lingering like a shadow around the ship. The crew had no orders, no communication with Earth, and nothing to confirm what they faced. The anomaly had accepted the probe, but that acceptance brought more questions than answers. Captain Elias Rowan watched the screens, which now flickered with new readings. Mira Vale hovered near him, her fingers resting lightly on a console. Jonah Pike leaned against the wall, silent. None of them spoke at first. Words felt too small for the weight of space around them. Then, a faint object appeared on the long-range sensors, drifting slowly toward the horizon. It was unlike anything they had seen, a fragment of something older, metallic but cracked, with lines and shapes that seemed almost alive. Mira squinted at it. It's a probe, she said. Not human. Very old. Elias nodded. Bring it closer, but cautiously. The ship edged forward. The object did not respond to their presence with aggression, but it moved in a way that suggested awareness. As it came within sensor range, strange patterns glimmered across its surface. They looked like written symbols, but they shifted and reformed as if reading the ship. Mira leaned in. I think it's trying to communicate, but it's not using sound. Not like anything we know. Jonah frowned. So how do we reply? He looked uneasy. We can't just type back. Mira tapped the console. Images, shapes, and colors flickered across the screen. It's responding to our emotions, our presence. We need to project what we feel. Elias took a deep breath. It felt fear, yes, but also the strange thrill of discovery. He focused on it, letting it fill his chest. The ship shivered. The probe's line shifted and glowed. A message? Or a test? They could not tell. Suddenly the object emitted a pulse of light that enveloped the horizon. Every screen blinked, and the ship's instruments went haywire. Jonah grabbed a console to steady himself. What is it doing? He shouted. Mira's eyes widened. It's scanning us. Reading us. Feeling us. The ship trembled again, gently, like a hand resting on a fragile object. Then images filled the screens. Worlds that had been, cities that were gone, and beings who had disappeared long before humans even reached space. The crew watched in horror. The probe, somehow, carried the memories of the galaxy. Elias swallowed. These are civilizations that failed, that gave up. They're warning us. Mira shook her head. No. They're showing us what they were. They're sharing everything. It's not angry. It's grieving. Jonah let out a short laugh. Grieving metal. Sure. That makes sense. The probe pulsed again. The images shifted this time, showing human worlds. Not Earth. Not yet. But the colonies, the small outposts, the lives built in silence. The anomaly seemed to notice the difference. Humanity had survived, kept trying, and continued to reach for the stars. Mira whispered, it's reacting to us. To our persistence. Our hope. The crew felt it. A pressure in their minds. A presence not of sound but of thought. It was as if the galaxy itself were watching them, learning from them. The probe moved closer, then stopped just short of touching the ship. It hummed softly, a sound that was almost a vibration in the bones. Elias straightened. Prepare to deploy a second probe. This time, let's see if we can understand it better. Jonah frowned. or it could just crush us with curiosity. Mira ignored him, typing commands to ready the probe. As the ship prepared, the anomaly pulsed with a light that seemed to respond to their nervousness. Their emotions were no longer private. The entity could feel them, understand them. The second probe launched, small and sleek. As it touched the edge of the anomaly, the light around it shifted, coalescing into a pattern that resembled a spiral. Data streamed back, more structured this time. Symbols appeared, then images, then sequences that seemed like thought made visible. Mira studied them intently. It's not a language like we know. It's feeling made into form, experience translated into shapes and pulses. Elias nodded. So it understands us by what we feel. Jonah's voice trembled slightly. Great. We're emotional. That's all it needs to know. The anomaly pulsed again, slower this time, almost as if waiting. The horizon floated within its silent embrace, each crew member aware of the presence pressing gently against their minds. Fear. Hope. Love. Grief. All registered, amplified, and reflected back in ways that were hard to explain. Then the anomaly shifted. A part of it peeled away like a ribbon and moved toward the second probe. Instead of destroying it or absorbing it, it wrapped around it delicately. The probe's readings exploded with new data. Worlds that once existed, civilizations that failed because they stopped trying, and beings who chose silence over struggle. Mira gasped. It's showing us the past. It's learning from it. Elias stepped back, eyes wide. And it's learning from us too. That's why we're still here. Because we fight, because we love, because we don't give up. Jonah rubbed his forehead. So what happens if it decides we're not worth it? Mira's voice was soft. Then we're gone, just like the others. But it seems different with humans. The anomaly pulsed again, almost as if acknowledging our words. The lights on the bridge dimmed slightly, as if the ship itself held its breath. The crew felt a strange bond forming, fragile and new. The universe, through this entity, had noticed them, not because they demanded attention, but because they existed with courage and persistence. Hours passed, the probe returned, intact and full of data that the crew could barely begin to understand. It had not been destroyed. It had been accepted. The anomaly seemed satisfied, or at least curious enough to leave them in peace for now. We've made contact, not with a civilization, not with aliens, but with something greater, something old. Mira nodded, though her hands shook. Something that sees us. Not just our technology, not our actions, but our hearts. Jonah gave a short, humorless laugh. Well, that's a new kind of creepy. The ship continued through the quiet expanse, carrying its human crew who now knew they were not alone, even if no one else had survived to say so. The anomaly remained nearby, moving with them, watching them, and learning from them. Every heartbeat, every thought, every spark of hope was being recorded in ways they could not understand. Elias looked out at the dark stars. The silence of the galaxy was no longer empty. Something was listening. Something old. Something patient. And it had started with humanity. Mira whispered almost to herself. We are not just explorers. We are witnesses. And maybe, just maybe, we are being chosen. Jonah shook his head, still uneasy. Chosen or not, I don't like the feeling that the universe knows how scared I am. Elias turned to both of them. We survive because we care, because we feel, because we try. The galaxy is quiet, yes, but it's not indifferent. And now, it knows us. The horizon moved forward, deeper into the unknown. The anomaly followed, pulsing with light and thought. And for the first time, the crew felt that the silence of the stars was not rejection. It was waiting, watching, listening. Something had answered humanity not with words, not with commands, not with power, but with understanding. And that understanding carried with it a warning, a promise, and a challenge to continue, to endure, and to prove that even in the quiet, life and love and hope could be louder than the void. The horizon floated deeper into the quiet sector, carrying its human crew toward the heart of something they could not yet name. The anomaly had followed them silently, moving with them as if curious, as if learning. For hours, no words were spoken on the bridge. Silence had taken a new shape, pressing against them with presence rather than emptiness. Captain Elias Rowan stood at the window, eyes fixed on the distant lights. There were stars, yes, but unlike any he had seen, some seemed to pulse slightly, faint rhythms almost like slow breathing. His mind tried to make sense of it, but logic failed in the face of this vastness. Miravail sat at the sensor console, hands hovering over controls she barely needed. The readings were complicated but meaningful in ways she could feel but not fully explain. Her mind replayed the patterns from the probe, the old civilizations and the pulse of the anomaly. "It's alive," she said softly, almost to herself. Jonah Pike, who had spent his life fixing machines and understanding tools, looked uneasy. "Alive? It's space, Mira. There's nothing alive out here except us." She shook her head. "Not alive in a body, Jonah. Alive in thought, in memory, in feeling. It remembers everything it has seen. It senses us the way we sense each other. Elias folded his arms, and it is still following us. Why? What does it want?" Mira hesitated. "It doesn't want anything in the way we want. It is learning. It sees us, and it is curious. Humans are unusual. We keep going. We keep hoping. We keep loving even when there is no answer. That seems to matter to it." Jonah rubbed his temples. "So, the universe has a memory, and it likes us because we feel things. Fantastic." The ship drifted, and the anomaly moved closer, wrapping around the horizon like a gentle hand. The ship trembled slightly, but it was not danger. It was awareness. Each crew member felt the presence in their own way. Fear, excitement, grief, hope, all mixed together. The anomaly reflected these feelings back to them, amplifying them, pressing them into consciousness. Mira's eyes widened as new data appeared on her console. The probe had captured more than symbols and light. It carried histories of countless civilizations, many of which had vanished because they stopped trying, because they gave up when the stars did not answer. Now the anomaly showed them these histories like stories. Some ended in ruin, others in silence. Humans were rare in their persistence. Elias said nothing at first. He felt the weight of what he was seeing. So, this entity, it has seen everything. Every civilization that failed. And it watches to see who continues? Mira nodded. Yes. And it is judging not by power or intelligence, but by endurance, by the will to live and create even when the universe is quiet. Jonah groaned. That's a lot of pressure, and a lot of responsibility for a few humans on a ship. Suddenly the anomaly pulsed brightly. The ship's lights flickered. Screens displayed new shapes, more complex than before. Mira leaned closer. It wants more than data. It wants interaction. It wants to see how we feel in real time. Elias looked at the anomaly, realizing for the first time that their journey was not just exploration. It was examination. They were being measured by something immense and patient, and yet it did not strike with weapons, it did not threaten. It simply observed and responded. Jonah's hands tightened into fists. Great. It watches, it knows, it probably judges. Can it at least be nice? Mira's eyes softened. I think it already is. It has never harmed us. It only mirrors our strength and our courage. We are alive. We are trying. That is enough to keep it with us. The anomaly pulsed again, a slow rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The ship shivered slightly, and in that vibration the crew felt something they could not name. It was awe, fear, and hope, all at once. They realized that humanity was different. Other species had come and gone. They had given up. Humans did not. Hours passed. The horizon moved carefully, never rushing, feeling each pulse, each reaction. The anomaly followed, not closing in, not leaving. It was patient, learning, waiting for them to act, to think, to feel. And the ship's crew began to understand that this was not just a test, it was a revelation. Then the screens flickered again. This time, the images were not of distant civilizations, but of humans themselves. Not just the crew, but colonies, outposts, and cities across the galaxy. The anomaly seemed to recognize patterns of connection, hope, and creation. It lingered over moments of courage, over acts of care, over efforts that humans had made even in despair. Elias felt a lump in his throat. It sees us. All of us. Not just what we do, but why we do it. Mira nodded. It is learning from our humanity, from our ability to keep moving forward even when there is no answer. That is something no other species has shown it. Jonah's voice was quiet. So we matter because we love, because we try, because we don't give up? Mira's gaze softened. Yes, that is what it sees. That is why it follows us. It is not just curiosity. It is respect in its own way. The anomaly pulsed brighter, surrounding the ship with ribbons of light that shifted and twisted. The sensation was overwhelming, a mixture of fear and comfort, of weight and lightness. The crew realized that they were touching something far greater than themselves, something old and immense that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless species. Elias took a deep breath. Then we must show it what humans are capable of. Not our strength, not our technology, but our hearts. Mira smiled faintly. We already are. Every moment it watches, every choice we make, every feeling we express, it sees the best of us and the worst. That is enough. Jonah shook his head, still uneasy but starting to understand. Well, I never thought being human would involve a universe-sized parent checking on me, but here we are. As the horizon moved forward, deeper into the unknown, the anomaly remained close, pulsing with light and thought. It had learned from the crew, from their persistence, from their hope, and in return the crew learned that humanity was rare in its willingness to continue, to endure, to care even when the universe seemed silent. Elias finally spoke softly. We are not alone, not because someone answers us, but because someone is listening, and that changes everything. The ship drifted on, carried by its own momentum and the quiet presence of the anomaly. Every heartbeat, every thought, every small act of courage was observed, recorded, and understood in ways that no human could fully grasp. Mira looked at the stars outside, blinking slowly as the patterns of light shifted in response to their movements. The universe has watched so much, and yet it waits for us. That is remarkable. Jonah nodded slowly. Remarkable, yes, but also terrifying. Elias placed a hand on the console, steadying himself. We will continue. We will endure. We will show it that humans are capable of love, hope, and persistence. And in doing so, perhaps we will understand ourselves a little better. The anomaly pulsed again, slow and steady, as if acknowledging his words. The horizon moved deeper into the quiet, carrying its crew forward. Every moment became part of the silent dialogue between humanity and the vast consciousness they had discovered. In that silence, full of observation and unspoken understanding, the crew felt a strange bond with the universe itself. It had watched countless civilizations fail, but it had chosen to notice humanity. Not for our technology, not for our strength, but for our ability to hope, to love, to endure. And in that knowledge, the crew felt a mixture of fear, pride, and wonder. The universe was patient, immense, and incomprehensible. And yet it had begun to see them, and for humans, that was enough. The horizon no longer felt like a simple ship moving through space. It felt like a bridge. The anomaly stayed close, wrapping the ship in soft waves of light that shifted with every thought and feeling from the crew. What had once been quiet now felt full, heavy with meaning. Captain Elias Rowan noticed the change first in the ship itself. Systems reacted faster than before, almost as if anticipating needs. Lights dimmed and brightened gently. Gravity felt steadier, smoother. It was not control. It was cooperation. Miravale watched the readings with growing concern. Captain, she said, her voice low, the anomaly is no longer just observing. It is connecting.
Elias turned to her.
What does that mean? She swallowed. It is linking itself to our systems, not taking over but syncing. Our emotions, our decisions, our stress levels, it feels them all. Jonah Pike let out a sharp breath. That sounds dangerous. Very dangerous. Before anyone could reply, the ship shook, not violently, but enough to make everyone grab something solid. Alarms did not sound, but screens lit up with warnings. Energy surge, the navigator said. Not from us. From everywhere. Outside the window, a nearby star flickered. Its light bent strangely, stretching and pulling as if space itself were tired. Then it returned to normal. Mira's eyes widened. The anomaly is reacting beyond this sector. It is touching other parts of space. Elias felt a cold weight settle in his chest. You mean it's affecting human space? She nodded slowly. Yes, and not just physically. Emotionally. Far away, across human colonies, people began to feel it. A sudden rush of connection. Memories that were not their own. Grief that did not belong to them. Love so strong it made them stop and breathe. Some cried without knowing why. Others felt calm for the first time in years. On the horizon, the effect was stronger. Jonah dropped into a chair, his face pale. I can feel everything, he said. Things I try not to think about, old fears, old hopes. It's too much. Mira closed her eyes, tears sliding down her face. It's amplifying us. It doesn't know how fragile we are. The anomaly pulsed brighter, responding to the surge of human emotion spreading across space. It was not trying to harm anyone. It was reaching out, sharing itself the only way it knew how. Elias stepped forward, voice firm. Can we limit the connection? Mira shook her head, not without rejecting it completely. And that might hurt it. The word hung in the air. Hurt it. Jonah laughed weakly. Great. Now we're worried about hurting the universe. Before anyone could respond, a new signal appeared. Multiple signals. Dozens. Hundreds. The tactical officer turned pale. Captain, human defense fleets are mobilizing. They detected the energy shifts. They think it's an attack. Elias's heart sank. How long until they reach this sector? Hours, the officer replied. Maybe less. Mira looked at the anomaly, her voice shaking. If they fire on it, it will respond. Not out of anger, but instinct. The damage could be unimaginable. Jonah stood up, fists clenched. So we're the middle of a misunderstanding between scared humans and an ancient cosmic mind. No pressure. The ship trembled again. The anomaly pulsed faster now, picking up on the rising fear and tension. Outside, distant stars flickered as if unsure of their place. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of Earth, of people living their lives, unaware of how close everything was to breaking. Humanity had always feared the unknown, always reached for weapons first. He opened his eyes. We need to talk to it. Properly. Mira looked at him. Captain, we don't fully understand how. We understand enough, he said. It listens to feeling, to intent. He stepped closer to the window, placing a hand against the glass. He let his fear surface, but he did not let it rule him. Beneath it, he focused on something stronger. Care, responsibility, love for his species. The anomaly slowed its pulse. Mira felt it and gasped. It's responding to you. Elias spoke, not with words, but with meaning. He thought of humans not as warriors, but as builders, dreamers, survivors. He sent that feeling outward. The anomaly's light softened, but far away, the human fleets continued their approach. Mira's console flashed red. Captain, the fleets are preparing long-range weapons. They don't understand what this is. They're afraid. Jonah slammed his hand against the console. So are we. But fear doesn't have to mean destruction. The anomaly suddenly surged, reacting to the growing threat. Space twisted violently for a moment, and a distant star collapsed into darkness before stabilizing again. Elias felt the warning clearly. If attacked, the universe would defend itself, and humanity would not survive the response. He turned to his crew. We need to send a message. Not a signal. A feeling strong enough to reach them. Mira stared at him. That kind of emotional broadcast could overwhelm people. Better overwhelmed than gone, Jonah said quietly. Together the crew focused. Fear, hope, love, regret. All woven together into a single intent, a message without words. Please stop. Across human space, pilots hesitated. Commanders felt sudden doubt. Memories of home flooded their minds. The faces of loved ones, moments of kindness. The urge to fire weakened. Some ships powered down weapons. Others did not. A single test shot was fired. The beam struck the edge of the anomaly. The response was immediate. Space screamed, not with sound, but with force. The beam vanished, folded into nothing. A shockwave rippled outward, bending light and gravity. Several ships were thrown off course, systems failing but hulls intact. The anomaly pulsed wildly, confused and hurt. Mira cried out. It thinks it's being rejected, like the others. Elias felt panic rise, but he pushed through it. He poured everything he had into the connection. Understanding, apology, acceptance. The anomaly slowed. Stars steadied. The fleet stopped firing. Silence returned, heavier than before. Hours passed in tense stillness. Slowly, one by one, human ships retreated. Orders were rescinded. Fear gave way to caution. On the horizon, the crew collapsed into their seats, exhausted. Jonah wiped sweat from his brow. That was too close. Mira nodded. The bond is powerful but dangerous. The universe doesn't understand our fear, and we don't understand its pain. Elias stared at the anomaly, now dimmer, quieter. Then we have to learn. We can't turn away, not now. The anomaly pulsed once, slow and gentle, not demanding, not warning, waiting. The horizon drifted on, carrying the weight of a choice that would shape all of humanity. The bond had been formed. imperfect and fragile. Love had reached across the silence, but it had also revealed how easily everything could fall apart. The stars remained quiet, but now they were watching closely. The horizon moved slowly through the quiet, as if afraid to disturb the space around it. The anomaly stayed close. Dimmer now, its light softer and less restless. The danger had passed, but the tension remained. Everyone on the ship knew something had changed forever. Captain Elias Rowan sat alone on the bridge for a long time. The stars outside looked calm, but he could still feel the echo of what almost happened. Humanity had come close to destroying the first true connection it had ever made with the universe. Miravail entered quietly. Her face looked tired, older than before. "The fleets have fully withdrawn," she said. "Command is confused. Some officers remember feeling something strange. Others don't remember anything at all." Elias nodded slowly. "Maybe that's for the best." She hesitated. "The anomaly is changing again. Not growing, not spreading. It's opening." You looked at her. "Opening how?" She struggled for words. "Like it's making room. Like it's ready to share something deeper." Jonah Pike's voice came from behind them. "That sounds like the start of another disaster." Elias gave a tired smile. "Or the end of one." The lights on the bridge dimmed. The anomaly pulsed once, and the space around the ship shifted gently. Images appeared on the screens without being summoned. Not warnings. Not memories of failure. These were memories of connection. Worlds long dead lit up the displays. Not their destruction, but their beginnings. First cities, first songs, first moments when intelligent beings looked at the stars and felt wonder instead of fear. Mira's breath caught. "It's showing us what it lost." Elias felt the truth of that settle deep in his chest. The universe had not turned silent because it was empty. It had gone quiet because it had been hurt too many times. Jonah crossed his arms, his voice quiet. "They stopped talking to it." Mira nodded. "They blamed it for their pain. They demanded answers it couldn't give, and when none came, they turned away." The anomaly pulsed again, and the images shifted. Civilizations faded, not in fire, but in loneliness. The universe withdrew, learning that silence was safer than rejection. Elias stepped forward, and then we came along. The images changed. Humans appeared, early explorers. Fragile ships, broken equipment, fear everywhere. And still they kept going. They sang, they joked. They sent messages into the dark knowing no one might answer. Mira whispered, tears in her eyes. "We never stopped loving the stars, even when they were silent." The anomaly brightened slightly, reacting to that feeling. Not overwhelming, gentle. Jonah swallowed. "So this is it. This is why it noticed us." Elias felt a pressure building inside him. A choice. A responsibility. "It wants to connect fully," he said. "Doesn't it?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, but that kind of bond is dangerous. For us and for it. If we fail, it may never open itself again." The ship trembled softly as the anomaly extended thin threads of light toward the horizon. They touched the hull without damage. Data poured in, more than the ship could process. Jonah rushed to stabilize the systems. "It's too much. The ship can't hold this." Elias looked at the anomaly, feeling its confusion, its hope, its fear. It was vast, but it was also vulnerable in its own way. He understood then what had to be done. "It doesn't need our technology," he said. "It needs our choice." Mira looked at him sharply. "Elias, what are you thinking?" He took a slow breath. "We show it that love does not need guarantees. That connection does not require control." Jonah frowned. "That sounds noble. It also sounds like suicide." Elias smiled faintly. "Human history is full of that." He stepped closer to the window, placing both hands against the glass. He let every feeling rise. Fear of loss, love for humanity, acceptance of uncertainty. He did not hide any of it. The anomaly reacted strongly. Light flared, space bent. The ship groaned under the strain. Mira shouted, "The hull can't take much more." Elias did not move. He focused harder. Not on survival, but on trust. Across human space something stirred. People paused in their daily lives. They looked up at the sky without knowing why. A quiet warmth spread. Not overwhelming, just present. The anomaly expanded, not outward, but inward. It wrapped around the horizon completely. The ship was pulled into a field of light and silence. Jonah grabbed a railing. "We're losing structure!" Mira cried out as systems failed one by one. "We're breaking apart!" Elias closed his eyes. He let go. The moment stretched, then snapped. The ship did not explode. Instead, it vanished. Across space, the anomaly pulsed once, brighter than ever before. Stars across multiple sectors glowed softly, as if responding. Dead systems showed faint signs of renewal. Dust clouds shifted into new patterns. The universe had answered, but the horizon was gone. Hours later, fragments of the ship began to reappear across human space. Not debris, not wreckage, survivors. Jonah Pike woke up on a medical station, gasping for air. Mira Vale appeared on a research outpost, surrounded by stunned scientists. Other crew members emerged across colonies, alive but scattered, and Elias Rowan opened his eyes. He floated in a quiet place without stars or darkness. The anomaly surrounded him, not his light, but his presence. It did not speak in words. It thanked him. It did not promise safety. It did not promise answers. It promised to listen. Elias felt peace, even as he felt himself fading. He had made the choice not for reward, but because it was right. Far away, humanity felt the change. The stars did not speak, but they no longer felt empty. The silence had meaning now. And it had cost everything. The Horizon's crew returned slowly to human space, scattered across colonies and stations. Each member carried the memory of the anomaly, the pulse of its presence, and the understanding that humanity had made a mark where no other species had. The bond they had formed was fragile, but it was real. Captain Elias Rowan stood on a quiet observation deck, looking at the stars he had once feared would remain silent forever. Now, they felt different. There was a sense of being watched, yes, but not with judgment. With attention. With care. Mira Vale joined him. Her eyes were tired but bright. The anomaly, it is still out there. Still observing. But it listens now. It understands. Elias nodded slowly. And it trusts us. Not because we are strong, not because we are clever, because we dared to feel and act even when there was no guarantee. Jonah Pike leaned against the rail, arms crossed. So humans are special because we never stop trying? Because we keep caring? Mira smiled faintly. Yes, that is enough to make us different. Enough to make the universe notice. Across the colonies, people began to feel the change in subtle ways. Long-abandoned outposts received small bursts of energy that restored systems. Scientists found anomalies in their experiments that revealed new understanding of physics. Even artists and children reported strange inspiration, small glimpses of connection that were impossible to explain. Elias realized then that the anomaly had left a part of itself with humanity. Not a physical presence, not a weapon, not a gift that could be controlled. A promise, a recognition. And the universe had changed. Not entirely. Not permanently, but enough to show that silence was not indifference. Mira pointed to a distant star. It has not returned our ship entirely. Some fragments were, but much of Horizon's systems are gone. The bond was too strong, too delicate to survive intact. Elias nodded. It is not a loss. It is proof. Proof that connection is possible. That love and hope can survive, even in the quiet. Jonah sighed. I'll take proof over destruction any day. Over time, humanity learned to live with the anomaly's presence. Not everyone understood it. Not everyone believed, but they felt it in the quiet moments. The warmth in their chests when someone smiled. The courage to continue when hope seemed impossible. The willingness to reach for the stars knowing the universe may not answer. Colonies shared stories of the Horizon crew. They became legends, not for bravery in battle, but for courage in the face of the unknown. They were called the first speakers. Humans who had dared to speak, to feel, to love, even when the stars were silent. Elias walked among people in the streets of a colony on a new world. Children played, laughing freely under unfamiliar skies. He remembered the fear, the awe, and the weight of what they had experienced. He felt a deep pride and a humble understanding that their actions had shifted the balance of silence. Mira and Jonah joined him. They walked in quiet solidarity, their shared experiences unspoken but deeply understood. The anomaly's presence was subtle here, a gentle hum beneath reality, felt rather than seen. In time, other species began to appear. Not aggressively, not with hostility, but tentatively, drawn by the small pulses of light and life humans generated. Humanity's love, hope, and endurance had made them audible across the void. The anomaly did not speak in words. It did not act in obvious ways, but it remained close, patient, and watchful. It recorded the growth of civilizations, the rise of culture, the small joys and deep sorrows that defined intelligent life, and humans who had once feared the silence learned to thrive within it, to speak even when no one answered, and to continue loving, creating, and exploring regardless of recognition. Elias looked at the stars again, a quiet smile on his face. He understood now that the universe did not need to answer, that their voices mattered even in quiet, that their love, their hope, and their courage were loud enough to be heard across the emptiness. Mira whispered beside him, "The stars are listening." Jonah nodded. "And we will keep talking, no matter how long it takes." And humanity did. They built, they loved, they explored, they fell, and they rose again. The universe remained vast and often silent, but it had become aware. It had become connected, just enough to remind humans that even the quietest spaces could be filled with meaning. The Horizon Crew's story became the story of humanity itself. Every time someone looked at the stars, they remembered the silence, the bond, the risk, and the choice to continue. Every act of courage, every act of love, every act of hope was amplified across the cosmos, echoing in ways they could not measure. And the anomaly, patient and eternal, remained out there. Listening, watching, no longer indifferent, no longer quiet. It had been awakened by the loudness of human love. The stars were silent, but their love was loud enough to be heard across eternity.